There are many styles of hip-hop, but none more notorious than gangster rap. Gangster rap was popularized in the 90s, thanks to the hardcore rhymes penned by artists like Ice-T, Dr. Dre, and Ice Cube. The jury's still out on whether the violence found in rap lyrics is detrimental to society, or if gangster rap is just the artistic expression of the dangerous culture in which some artists live. The result of keeping it real is a long list of rappers who have died, been injured, or have been incarcerated. Let's take a look at some of the most notorious and some lesser-known rappers currently in the slammer. Kodak Black's back in the big house. Houston Octave is the South Florida rapper known as Kodak Black. In April 2018, he was sentenced to 364 days in jail for gun and drug possession charges related to an Instagram video that, according to ABC 10 local news, appeared to show people using marijuana and holding a handgun near an infant. But that's really just the tip of the iceberg for the no-flocking rapper, who in the 2 years prior was charged with robbery, false imprisonment, fleeing a law enforcement officer, and possession of a firearm by a delinquent. There's also the sexual assault and a house arrest violation charges for leaving home without permission to go to a strip club where an employee accused him of assaulting her. In April 2018, TMZ reported that some charges from the Instagram video arrest have been dropped, meaning the embattled rapper could be out of jail as early as October 2018. However, he's still awaiting trial for the sexual battery case, for which he could receive up to 30 years in prison if he's found guilty. In other words, Kodak Black is in jail for a lot, and his days dealing with the legal system don't seem anywhere close to being over. Ryde Ruff, get locked up. By the time rapper DMX, whose real name is Earl Simmons, was sentenced to 1 year in prison in March 2018, his criminal history was already so extensive and varied, it was amazing that he was still a free man at that point. In 2010, the Daily Beast cited his 13 previous arrests, or charges ranging from felony drugs and cocaine possession to criminal impersonation and reckless driving. By 2016, and many more arrests later, Simmons' rough riding ways nearly cost him his life. According to TMZ, he was found unresponsive in a Yonkers, New York Ramada Inn parking lot where one witness said he ingested some sort of powder before lapsing into unconsciousness. Simmons denied any drug use and cited a recent bout of bronchitis for the collapse. Fast forward to January 2018 when Simmons added financial crimes to his colorful criminal resume, although you could technically count the 6 months he served in 2015 for failing to pay $400,000 in child support under that category. Anyways, Simmons landed back in the clink for violating probation in a tax evasion case, according to TMZ. That case eventually ended with his March 2018 guilty plea to avoid paying taxes on $1.7 million, earning him another year behind bars. At the sentencing hearing, Simmons' lawyer played parts of Simmons' 1998 song Slippin' in the courtroom, according to Reuters, in an attempt to explain his client's troubled past. It was an interesting move, but we think we may have a better suggestion for next time. I'm Sorry by Brenda Lee. It's not like he's above doing a cover every now and then.
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, out of every shiny nose. And if you ever saw him, you would even say it close. Go on!
The rise and fall of Bobby Shmurda. Brooklyn rapper Aquil Pollard adopted the handle Bobby Shmurda when he and several lifelong friends formed the rap crew GS9. According to GQ, the crew became official in March 2014, and it didn't take long for Pollard to become the breakout star of the group. Viral success and his shmoney dance got the attention of fans, celebrities, and record labels who scrambled to sign him.
It looks like the Monster Mash. That thing's gonna be the Macarena in 2 years.
You're dead.
Who? Shmurda's gonna smurder me?
Unfortunately, police believe that GS9 also operated as a faction of the infamous LA-based Crips gang, also known as G-Stone Crips. What resulted was a wide-ranging criminal conspiracy investigation that led to a December 2014 sweep during a recording session at Manhattan's Quad Studios, using an indictment built largely on intercepted phone communications between GS9 members in which they allegedly made coded references to drug dealing, shootings, and murders. The NYPD arrested Pollard and 14 others. A spokeswoman for the Office of the Special Narcotics Prosecutor told the New York Daily News the investigation involved violent incidents in Brooklyn that include shootings and narcotics traffic. Pollard's specific charges, however, related only to felony gun possessions. He copped a plea deal, accepting a 7-year prison term and waiving his right to an appeal. Pollard strongly disputes the charges, alleging that dishonest cops railroaded him and that he got a raw deal when his trial was moved from Brooklyn. According to his interview with Complex, he believed that in a Manhattan court, who are they going to believe? The word of this black kid talking about shooting shit up, or the word of white officers? A jury is going to believe cops all day. Life imitates violent art. Rondo number 9 was a rising star in Chicago's drill scene, a subgenre of gangster rap that rose to prominence in the Windy City in the early 2000s. Drill quickly became something of a flashpoint for debate over whether its controversial lyrics involving gangs, guns, and drugs were influencing the increasingly dangerous city of Chicago. Rondo, aka Clint Massey, contributed most notably to drill with his 2013 hit Hang With Me, in which he openly discusses being high, filling people with bullets, his remorselessness as being an alleged murderer. Perhaps unsurprisingly, Massey became an object lesson in the debate over drill lyrics when he was sentenced to 39 years for his involvement in the 2014 death of cab driver Javon Boyd. According to the Chicago Sun-Times, Massey, then just 17 years old, and a 19-year-old accomplice named Courtney Ely, shot Boyd multiple times as he sat in his car outside an apartment complex. For his part in the murder, Ely was sentenced to 38 years in prison, effectively bringing an end to both of the young men's rap careers. A prophetic felon. Joining the illustrious crowd of rappers who conspicuously implicated themselves in crimes via their own lyrics as Montana Mills. The Bronx-born rapper, whose real name is Michael Passard, released tracks such as Sell Drugs and Feds Watch Him before he was arrested for, you guessed it, selling drugs. Passard got busted twice for trafficking heroin, first in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, after he allegedly dealt to an undercover cop, which resulted in a raid on his hotel room that yielded 70 grams of bulk heroin that had a street value of $11,500, according to the Lebanon Daily News. The second arrest was in Rhode Island, not long after the Lebanon burst, when Passard once again dealt to a plainclothes detective, which resulted in another raid and seizure of several illicit drugs. NBC Turn to 10 reported that in January 2018, Passard pleaded guilty before a Rhode Island judge to 7 counts of drug distribution and possession, and received a 3-year prison sentence. He didn't fare so well a month later in Pennsylvania when the judge there handed him a sentence of 8 to 30 years, which he will serve consecutively with his prior sentence. Ouch. One Nation behind bars. Convicted felon Ricardo Burgos, who raps under the handle Nation, apparently either wasn't aware or didn't care that he was no longer allowed to possess firearms when he brandished 2 of them in a music video shot in Deerfield, Illinois, in January 2016. According to CBS Chicago, Burgos, an aspiring rapper, was arrested later in the day in possession of a .45 caliber semi-automatic pistol, at which point he was charged with 1 count of illegal possession of a firearm by a felon and 1 count of distribution of a controlled substance, the latter of which stemmed from a 2015 arrest. The Associated Press reported that Burgos was a member of a Chicago-based gang known as the Conservative Vice Lords, which perhaps figured into the sentencing judge's decision to hand down a surprisingly harsh term of 188 months, or just over 15 years. Yeesh. For that kind of time, we sincerely hope waving those guns around in that video looks super dope. Gold chains to orange jumpsuits. California rapper Billy Wild Bill Schaffer Jr. lived up to his rap handle when he shot and killed Connie M. Sowles outside of an Oakland nightclub on October 1st, 2014, according to the East Bay Times. Schaffer, who also raps under the alias Billy Bankroll, claimed he was acting in self-defense during a scuffle between himself and Sowles over a gold chain. The jury believed Schaffer and acquitted him on the charges of first-degree murder, second-degree murder, and voluntary manslaughter, which could have landed him behind bars for far longer than the 13 years he got for his conviction. His remaining charges included involuntary manslaughter, using a firearm, and being a felon in possession of a firearm. Schaffer reportedly cried tears of joy over the court's decision. Pimpin' ain't easy, or legal. Richmond rapper and fledgling pimp Idris B. Jameson, aka Drizzy Bo, found himself swapping that recording studio for the cell block after he was sentenced to 4 years in prison in November 2017. 6 months earlier, Jameson sealed his fate when he reportedly recruited a woman on Instagram and began selling her services via shady websites that advertised prostitution, as reported the East Bay Times. Thanks to a sting arranged by the Vacaville Police Vice Unit and FBI Violent Crime Task Force, Jameson was apprehended on his way to deliver the woman to a prospective customer. Upon his arrest, police recovered text messages that indicated the nature of the pair's exploitative relationship, including Jameson giving the woman consent to buy food using the money she earned. In addition to the text messages, some of Jameson's own lyrics discussing prostitution and his lifestyle in general were used against him in court. Some things you should probably just keep in your diary. Freed Meek Mill. We're ending on the most positive note we could find. Philly rapper Robert Rameek Williams, aka Meek Mill, was sent back to prison for 2 to 4 years in November 2017 after violating his probation twice that same year. Williams' long history with the court system started in 2008, when he was jailed for the first time for bringing a gun to a grocery store. His subsequent 5-year probation term was extended through violations and further plea agreements, like in 2014 and 2016, when Williams was hit with violations for performing outside of Philly without permission. Judge Janice Brinkley, who presided over many of Williams' repeated violations, had enough in 2017, saying, "I gave you break after break and you basically just thumbed your nose at this court." Upon his sentencing, an outpouring of celebrities including Jay-Z, Kevin Hart, and even New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft vocally championed Williams. His name became tied to the Free Meek Mill movement, which sought to overhaul America's probation and parole system. Aside from the kind but relatively useless support from celebrities, Williams attracted another powerful ally, Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner, who unsuccessfully petitioned for Williams to get a retrial after questioning the credibility of the arresting officer in Williams' original case. Williams' legal team also appealed to circumvent Brinkley's refusal to grant the rapper bail, and he was immediately released on unsecured bail on April 24, 2018. Granted, Williams still awaits trial on his probation violation charges, but for now, he's a free man. Now that's something worth writing a song about.